into that, but we're talking about 1985 sales, and we're saying, well, you know, you can do without a mammogram because maybe walking is just as good as getting a mammogram. Well, here we are again. And Dr. von Eschenbach, I'm so glad that you have clarified very quickly that 40 is the recommendation, because I know that we have saved lives. Everyone in this room knows that by early detection, we have saved lives. We also have put hundreds of millions of dollars into the research to try to find the cure, and you will be in a pivotal position to help us find that cure so that we won't have to talk about mammograms anymore. We'll cure this, and then perhaps we can not have to deal with cancer of this kind again, and we can move to something else. But for now, I would just ask you how you view this study that is based on these 1985 trials that came from the Danish researchers that would indicate that false positives are a reason not to go forward and do the only thing we know that will allow an early detection of a cancer tumor.
Well, there are two answers I might offer, Senator. One is that certainly as we have improved the technology of not only mammography, but the ancillary studies that can be used to follow up mammography, including the ability to biopsy under ultrasound, we've actually been able to improve on the false positive concern, if you will. So I think additional progress is improving some of those previous concerns and issues. But the other thing I think your question points out is to maybe come back to my example that we are seeing a decline, and if you want to use the number 6 per 100,000 as that decline, one could, and I think the debate has been around, whether it's 3 plus 3 equals 6 or 2 plus 4 equals 6, and there's an argument around the relative value of mammography. But I believe we all conclude that mammography needs to be a part of that equation, that it is continuing to add to that equation, and whether there's an argument among statisticians as to whether it's 3 plus 3 or 2 plus 4, the important point is it is contributing and must remain a part of the equation.
Is there anything, I mean, anyone who's had a mammography knows that you wonder if, which is worse, getting the mammography or getting the cancer. But having said that, is there anything harmful that can be done in a mammography, or, I mean, maybe a wrongly given one, but is there, in general, a harmful effect of a mammography?
I believe that the greatest issue is, in fact, the discomfort and the humiliation that may go along with the examination. But other than that, other harms would be negligible, in my opinion. None.
Well, thank you, and I do hope that you will use your position to help us find the cure, because that's what has been missing for all these years that we have worked to try to eradicate breast cancer as a leading cause of the deaths of women. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Now we turn to Senator Clinton, one of our newer members of the committee, but certainly one of our very most active. Senator Clinton.
Thank you very much, and thank you for holding this hearing, and thank you, Doctor, for now being in the hot seat for quite some time. And I appreciate your clarification. I'm sorry that I missed your testimony. I just want to ask 3 brief questions just to be sure that I can accurately report to my many constituents who are deeply concerned about the controversy and also about the high prevalence of breast cancer in many parts of New York, higher than the national average. Is it fair to say that your testimony today, reflecting the NCI position, is that all women should get regular mammograms after the age of 40, or is it that women should be provided with information about the benefits and risks which they then, in consultation with their doctors, make their own decisions?
We're recommending that it be a combination of both the performance and availability of the mammogram along with the education and understanding of the implications of it. I believe both of those are important, but I would not leave out the mammogram as a primary part and the initial part of that recommendation.
But now a woman who's a potential recipient of a mammogram really has no independent way of determining the efficacy or the quality of the mammogram. So if I'm asked by a constituent after this hearing, well, what did Dr. von Eschenbach say should be done? What's my short answer?
Beginning at age 40, you would have a mammogram every 1 to 2 years.
Okay. You know, because one of the things which is happening in New York, and I assume it's happening elsewhere, even before the back and forth of the last month or so, is that many physicians' offices and freestanding mammography clinics were eliminating the service because the reimbursement was insufficient to pay for the physician time, the technician time, and the overhead costs. So we have many parts of my state where it's very difficult to access mammogram. And what I'm worried about is that in light of this controversy, we will see more and more insurance companies determining that they will no longer cover the cost of mammography, concluding that because it is somewhat in dispute as to its importance, that it's no longer a covered service. So I'm hoping that your very straightforward statement that it is still the recommendation of the National Cancer Institute that women starting at the age of 40 have mammogram will give us the ammunition we need to avoid further cutbacks in access and reimbursement, which I'm very concerned about.
Dr. Bailey is an international expert and is the chairman of biostatistics at the University of Texas. And he serves, and he's also principal investigator on a project funded by the National Cancer Institute to assess the relative contribution of screening mammography, tamoxifen, and chemotherapy in terms of the drop in breast cancer. We invited him to really come to speak as a member of the Physicians Data Query Screening and Prevention Board, the PDQ, which has raised some yellow flashing lights about the efficacy of mammograms.
I serve on the PDQ Screening and Prevention Board. We discuss published literature and decide how to modify a website accordingly. This website is used by physicians and the lay public, and so with respect to Senator Clinton's question, the women in her state can log on to the PDQ website and get information about screening benefits and risks. We assign levels of evidence to our statement. We are independent of the NCI. We are not advisory to the NCI. We do not establish guidelines. We do not make official recommendations. At a recent PDQ meeting, we discussed, as a matter of course, this paper that has been mentioned, referred to by Senator Mikulski and others, by Olson and Getche, that critique the randomized trials of screening mammography. We agreed with some of the criticisms, but not with all. Our current statement indicates that the benefits of screening are uncertain. Based in part on this study, the plan is to modify the statement to add that the existence of a benefit is itself uncertain. The deficiencies with which we agreed are discussed in detail in my written report, which I asked to be included as part of the record. In each case, there was evidence of a bias favoring screening, but not all trials were subject to these biases. Briefly, first, women with pre-existing breast cancer were preferentially excluded from the screening group. Second, attribution of cause of death was not blinded. Third, in 3 of the Swedish trials, the control mammogram slipped, the timing slipped, increasing the time to count breast cancer in the control groups. This is a technicality which we can get into if you'd like, but it is an important bias. And fourth, and finally, there has been no independent audits of the Swedish trials. In contrast, the Canadian trial, which showed no screening benefit, has been thoroughly audited.